What is up, everybody? This is my iceberg of advanced astrology techniques, but mainly this is a part of my series, Not Stopping Until You Learn Astrology, for free. I'd appreciate if you subscribe, like, comment, and share if you dare and care, so we can keep teaching you astrology for free. But I'm going to continue doing it because, I actually like doing it, so. Money would be nice too, but, yep. Everyone has to start from somewhere. So, this advanced astrology techniques iceberg, of course, the structure, and this is going to be new. It's going to be from well-known, the top, to obscure, the bottom. And that's how most icebergs usually work. If you've seen those iceberg explain videos, this is going to look a little bit different. But this iceberg organizes astrological techniques, but by how widely they are known and practiced in mainstream Western astrology communities. Top equals common knowledge, astrology 101. Bottom equals esoteric, rarely taught, often dismissed or lost. Alright? So we see our first level is the surface seen by everyone. Well-known basics, even casual horoscope readers recognize these. So technique description, sun sign astrology, which is essentially pop astrology. Meaning you know your star sign, your sun sign, whatever you want to call it, but you don't know your rising sign, your moon sign, or whatever. So very general, basic, not scratching the surface yet, but horoscopes based only on the sun position. Moon sign, emotional nature and inner self. So let's say you know the lunaries then. If you're a beginner, you know the lunaries. The sun and the moon. And the rising sign, ascendant, outer personality, first impression. Some people know about it, other people do not. And the 12 houses, life areas, self, money, communication, home, etc. Some people know these, some people do not. So these have been seen by everyone, but we're saying this is generalized, so it's a generalization. Alright. And the 7 traditional planets being the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. And aspects: conjunction, trine, square, opposition, sextile, angular relationships between planets. Alright? So that's our first level. And our second level is shallow, avid amateurs, known to people who read birth charts seriously, but not professional astrologers. So we look at our technique, and again we have our description to follow it. So outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, generational influences, deeper transformation. Retrograde planets, appearing to move backward, internalize energy. House rulers, also known as lords, the planet ruling the sign on a house cusp. Transits, current planetary positions aspecting a natal chart. Progressions, secondary, day for a year, symbolic movement of planets. Aspects, quincunx, 150 degrees, inconjunct, adjustment, health tension. And Chiron, the wounded healer, where we carry deep pain and can heal others. Alright. Level 3 is our deep tier for professional astrologers, a standard toolkit for working astrologers, but not very well known to the public. So again, we'll look at our technique and our description for it. Way too big. Right, solar return charts. Now these are a chart for exact moment the sun returns to a natal position each year. Lunar return charts, monthly chart, emotional and domestic themes, right? Card of fortune, a lot of fortune. It's a calculated point from sun, moon, ascendant, material well-being. And we have our midpoints, sensitive point halfway between 2 planets used in cosmobiology, declinations, Planetary latitude north, south of equator, parallels like conjunctions. Harmonic charts. Dividing the 360 degrees circle by a number to reveal hidden patterns. Fixed stars. Major ones are Algol, Spica, Regulus. When conjunct a planet, add mythic, fated qualities. In Arabic lots or parts. Dozens of calculated points, part of spirit, part of eros, etc. That also gets into the part of fortune. Alright. So, level 4 is our very deep tier, esoteric and specialized. Known only to dedicated researchers, esoteric schools, or niche traditions. Alright, so we have our technique and our description. So prenatal epoch, rectifying birth time by tracing back to the moment of conception. Primary directions, ancient predictive method, -1 degrees of RA equals 1 year of life. Zodiacal releasing from Hellenistic astrology, Time Lord technique based on lots and planetary periods, Dodecade Moria, dividing each sign into 12 microsigns, 12th parts. Monomeria, Ptolemy's degrees. So each degree assigned planetary rulership for fine-tuned interpretation. Astrological geomancy, divination using 16 figures derived from planetary and zodiacal correspondences. Fixed star Purans. These are stars rising, setting, or culminating at the same time as a planet on a specific date, not just by degree. Anti-Sia, solstice points. Mirror points across Cancer-Capricorn axes like an invisible connection. Alright? Level 5 is our Abyss tier, occult and nearly lost. So virtually unknown outside of academic history of astrology or advanced magical lodges. Astrological synarchy, also known as Morin de French. Planetary dignities as a judicial hierarchy, complex weighing of strength. The 72 names of God, Kabbalistic astrology. Derived from 3 verses in Exodus, each name corresponds to a 5 degrees zodiacal segment. So your Picatrix, and it's lunar mansions, 28 mansions. Pre-Islamic Arabic system, each mansion has magical images and rituals. Planetary joys, Hellenistic. Certain houses where planets rejoice, so for example Mercury in the 1st house, Venus in the 5th house. The lots of children and marriage, ancient. These are Arabic lots from texts like Paulus Alexandrinus, rarely used. Alright. Katarshi, electional astrology of the ancients. Not just choosing a time, but analyzing the cosmic weather as a living entity. As well as Phasis, planetary acronaico, rising. Meaning a star or planet rising at sunset, considered a royal or announcing appearance. Astrometeorology, weather prediction from planets. Highly detailed rules for rain, wind, storms, practice in Renaissance. Alright, let's go on down to level 6. The Mariana Trench. Myth, lost, or disputed. So obscure that many astrologers deny they exist or work, often mixed with mysticism or pseudepigrapha. So the 360 egregore degrees Cyril-Fagan sidereal work. Each degree of the sidereal zodiac has a specific fixed star or spiritual entity. Astrological Heilag and Alcocodon, medieval. Is the giver of life point used to determine lifespan length. The triplicity rulers by Dorothean. And these are Time Lords, so complex hierarchy of planetary rulership over each triplicity, day, night, and participating. Lunation cycles with profections, month by month, combining lunar phases with annual profected houses, almost no modern practitioners. The parts of the unnamed Greek magical papyri, lots whose formulas were deliberately omitted to keep secrecy. Decanic planetary spirits, Chaldean order. Each 10 degrees decan ruled by a planetary spirit with a sigil and incense. Astrological hypostasis, valence anti-rulership. The idea that planets do not rule signs but inhabit them as guests, a lost theoretical framework. So we'll give you guys some time to digest. Alright, now we have our future iceberg explanation ideas, a ranking tier system. And this is how this would look. So to help readers explore deeper layers, it's a tier ranking system for future iceberg explanations, and each tier indicates how much prerequisite knowledge is required. So starting with tier 1, which is beginner friendly, no prior astrology knowledge needed. Concepts can be explained in one paragraph with everyday metaphors. So for example, what is a rising sign? Tier 1, in the iceberg level, surface to shallow. And then for tier 2, intermediate, requires understanding of planets, signs, houses, and aspects. Needs a diagram or example chart. And the example is how to calculate a secondary progression in tier 2. The iceberg level is shallow to deep. And again, for tier 3, advanced, assumes familiarity with traditional rulerships, lots, and Time Lord systems. May require math or historical context. For example, using zodiacal releasing from the Lot of Fortune, tier 3, and iceberg level is deep to very deep. Tier 4, expert only, requires reading of ancient Greek, Latin, Arabic sources, or specialized software often debated among scholars. The difference between Ptolemaic and Dorothean triplicity rulers in tier 4, the iceberg level is very deep to the abyss. And for tier 5, mythic frontier, not proven in practice, may be reconstructed from fragmented manuscripts or channeled, no consensus. The 306C egregore degrees as living entities, tier 5, the iceberg level's Mariana Trench. So here's a fledged out example for, a tiered format iceberg explanation with the primary directions technique, level 4, very deep. So tier 3, advanced, one sentence summary, a predictive method where each 1 degrees of right ascension, also known as RA, along the ecliptic, about 4 minutes of time equals 1 year of life, used to trigger major events by directing the ascendant or midheaven to aspects with planets. Prerequisites: understanding of right ascension, obliquity of ecliptic, and how to calculate a natal chart with seconds of time. Why it's obscure. Requires manual spherical trigonometry or dedicated software. Placidus regiomontanus. Most modern astrologers use transits or progressions instead. Suggested learning path. Master secondary progressions in tier 2. Learn about solar arcs, tier 2.5. Study Ptolemy's Tetrabiblos, book 3, tier 3. Use free software like Morinus to experiment with primary directions, tier 3. Alright. And here's how to use this iceberg and tier system. We start at the top. If you don't understand something in level 2, don't jump to level 5. Each technique's tier tells you how much astrological literacy you need before attempting it. And future icebergs, for example, for Vedic astrology, horary, or mundane astrology, can use the same 6-level structure and 5-tier ranking. And this framework allows beginners to know exactly what to learn next, and experts to find genuine esoterica without wading through misinformation. So this is supposed to be more fledged out of an iceberg where I go more in detail and explain about certain things, like a revised version of what we just went over. So for the same techniques, but notice how now I actually have it fledged out. So level 1, surface, seen by everyone, or most people know this, generally speaking. These techniques appear in daily horoscopes, mobile apps, and casual conversations. So sun sign astrology is now fully fledged out. It's just, explained. We have why, the surface, and we have the tier. So we know it's tier 1, meaning most people know about this. It's general. And the position of the sun at your birth determines your sign. That's what this is. This is the foundation of newspaper horoscopes. Sun represents core identity, ego, and life purpose. So why the surface? No math, no chart needed. Everyone knows their sun sign, usually. Some people actually don't. Alright, and so moon sign, we see the moon zodiac position at birth governs emotions, instincts, subconscious habits, and how you nurture yourself and others, and it's in tier 1, easily calculated with online tools, and widely discussed in pop astrology. The rising sign, the ascendant, the zodiac sign rising on the eastern horizon at your exact birth time. It shapes your outward personality, physical appearance, and first impressions. It's in this tier 1 because it requires birth time, but it is standard in any birth chart report. Alright? The 12 houses. Birth chart is divided into 12 segments, also known as houses, each ruling a life area. So the first is the self, second is money and values, third is communication, fourth is home, fifth is creativity, sixth is health, seventh is partnerships, eighth is shared resources, ninth is travel philosophy, 10th is career, 11th is friendships, and 12th is secrets and solitude. It's in the first tier because it's basic chart structure taught in any Astrology 101 book. Alright? And the 7 traditional planets: Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. Visible to the naked eye and used for millennia. Each planet symbolizes a psychological drive. So for example, Mars equals action, Venus equals love, and it's in tier 1 because it's the core of all astrology systems. And then we have major aspects: conjunction, trine, square, opposition, and sextile. Angular distances between planets. A conjunction is 0 degrees, blending of energies. Sextile is 60 degrees, opportunity. Square is 90 degrees, tension. A trine is 120 degrees, a flow. And opposition is 180 degrees, polarity. And we're talking about this in tier 1 because every chart reading mentions aspects, at least these general, basic aspects. Alright. Level 2 is shallow, avid amateurs, known to people who study their own chart seriously, but not yet professionals. We're going to give you another break between speaking. I feel like I should take like 10 seconds before I say anything else, or at least a minute, just to help you guys understand and breathe in and out. Alright, so outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, discovered after telescopes, 1781, 1846, 1930. They move slowly, affecting generations. So Uranus equals rebellion, Neptune equals illusion and dreams, Pluto equals transformation and power. And we're talking about it in tier 2 because it's not in ancient astrology, but standard in modern practice. Alright? Retrogrades. When a planet appears to move backward from Earth's perspective, symbolizes internalization, delays, or re-evaluation. Mercury retrograde is most famous. We're talking about it in this tier because it's widely known but often misunderstood. House rulers, lords. The planet that rules a sign on the house cusp becomes the ruler of that house. So for example, if Aries is on the 4th house cusp, Mars, Aries ruler, influences home and family matters. And it's in tier 2 because it requires knowing planetary rulerships used in interpretation but not in casual horoscopes. Transits. Current positions of planets moving over your natal chart. When a transiting planet forms an aspect to a natal planet, it triggers events or inner shifts. We're talking about it in tier 2 because the basis of daily, weekly, and monthly horoscopes revolves around transits. Alright, secondary progressions. Day for a year. A symbolic time-lapse technique. Each day after birth corresponds to 1 year of life. The progress chart reveals psychological development and major life turning points. We're talking about it in tier 2 It's standard and professional readings, and many free calculators exist. Quincunx inconjunct 150 degrees. An awkward aspect of 150 degrees between planets indicates a need for adjustment, health issues, or no common ground between the two energies. Tier 2, because it's less common than major aspects but taught in intermediate courses. Chiron the Wounded Healer, a comet asteroid discovered in 1977. Its placement shows where you have deep, often unhealable pain, and where you can help others heal the same wound. I'm talking about it in Tier 2 because it's very popular in modern psychological astrology. We start with solar return charts. It's a chart cast for the exact moment the sun returns to, its natal position each year within a day of your birthday. It predicts themes for that solar year, not the calendar year. And it's in Tier 3 because it requires precise time and location, and in the interpretation is complex. Lunar return charts. It's a chart cast for the moment the moon returns to its natal position about every 28 days, used for month-by-month emotional and domestic forecasting. It's in Tier 3 because it's less common than solar returns and requires multiple calculations. Part of fortune, or the law of fortune, which also can be abbreviated as POF and LOF. So, it's a calculated point using formula, ascendant, adding the moon, subtracting the sun for day burst, represents physical well-being, prosperity, and where you find luck through action. It's in Tier 3 from Hellenistic astrology, not in pop astrology, but used by professionals. Right, midpoints. The point exactly halfway between two planets, so for example, sun-moon midpoint in cosmobiology and Uranian astrology. Transits or progressions to midpoints trigger events. Tier 3 requires calculation, not taught in basic courses. Declinations. Planetary latitude north or south of the celestial equator, not zodiac longitude. Parallels, same declination, act like conjunctions, contraparallels, like oppositions. Tier 3, many astrologers ignore declinations, requires a different chart view. Right, harmonic charts. Multiply all planetary longitudes by a number, for example, the 5th harmonic, and reduce mode 360 degrees. Highlight specific life themes, so 5th harmonic equals creativity, 9th equals spiritual purpose. Tier 3, advanced mathematics used in research astrology, right? Major fixed stars, Algol, Spica, Regulus, Aldebaran, and Aries. Bright stars with mythic meanings. When a planet or angle aligns with a fixed star within 1 degree, the star's nature, for example, Algol equals Medusa's head, equals violence or intense transformation. It colors the planet. So Tier 3 requires ephemeris of stars, not in basic software. In Arabic lots parts, dozens of calculated points derived from planetary positions. The lot of Eros, ascendant, adding Venus, subtracting Sun. Lot of Spirit, ascendant, adding Sun, subtracting Moon, etc. Each reveals a specific life domain. Tier 3, many formulas, requires historical source texts. Valens, Paulus, Alexandrinus. Alright, and level 4 is the very deep level, esoteric and specialized. Known only to dedicated researchers, ancient astrology students, or niche magical traditions. So prenatal epoch, rectification, a method from Ptolemy and later refined by E.H. Bailey. It back calculates the moment of conception approximately 273 days before birth to correct an unknown or inaccurate birth time. The prenatal lunation, new or full moon before birth, is key. Tier 4 requires advanced trigonometry and a precise birth time to begin with, debated among professionals. All right? Primary directions. Predictive system where the ascendant or the midheaven is moved forward at 1 degree of right ascension per year of life. When a directed point makes an aspect to a natal planet, a major life event occurs. Used extensively by William Lilly and traditional astrologers. Tier 4, requires spherical astronomy, no longer taught in most schools. Only a few software programs, Placidus Marinus, compute it correctly. Zodiacal releasing from Hellenistic astrology. A Time Lord technique using the Lot of Fortune or Spirit. The zodiac is divided into 12 periods, each 2.5 years for fortune. Within each period, sub-periods reveal specific timing for events. Rediscovered by Robert Schmidt and Chris Brennan, Tier 4. Complex calculation involving loosening of the bond. No simple app exists. Requires manual step-by-step work. Alright. Dodecahedronia, 12th parts. Each zodiac sign is divided into 12 equal microsigns of 2.5 degrees each. A planet's dodecahedron is its position within that microsign, adding nuance. So for example, a planet at 5 degrees Aries might fall in the third dodecahedron Gemini-like quality. Tier 4, almost entirely forgotten, mentioned by Ptolemy and Firmicus Maternus, rarely used in modern practice. Monomoria, Ptolemy's degrees. Each of the 360 degrees is assigned a planetary ruler, not a sign ruler according to a specific Chaldean order. For example, 1 degrees Aries ruled by Saturn, 2 degrees Aries by Jupiter, etc., used for fine-grained interpretation of a planet's power. Tier 4 requires a degree-by-degree table. No standard software includes it. Right? Astrological geomancy. A divinatory system that uses 16 geometric figures, for example, Populus, Via or Via Laetitia, generated from random dots on the Earth or random numbers. Each figure corresponds to a planet, sign, and elemental quality. The geomancer then casts an astrological chart for the moment of the question. Tier 4 requires learning 2 systems, geomancy and astrology, not purely astrological, but a hybrid. Alright. Fixed star parens, not just conjunctions. A star is considered active not only when conjunct a planet by ecliptic longitude, but when it rises, culminates, or sets at the same time as the planet Parana Talonta. This is the original Hellenistic method. Tier 4 requires calculating local sidereal time and star altitudes. Modern fixed star books ignore it. And Anticia, solstice points, 2 points equidistant from the solstitial axis. 0 degrees Cancer, 0 degrees Capricorn are mirror points. Planets in Anticia, for example, 5 degrees Gemini and 25 degrees Cancer, act like a conjunction, used in traditional and modern astrology for hidden connections. This is in Tier 4, and not in most software. It requires manual calculation or an Anticia table. Alright, level 5 is the Abyss, occult and nearly lost. Virtually unknown outside of academic history of astrology or advanced magical lodges. Golden Dawn, Thelema. So, astrological synagry, Morin de Villefranche, a hierarchical system of planetary dignities where each planet's strength is weighed through a court-like process. A planet can be king, an own sign, queen, exaltation, ambassador, triplicity, etc. The astrologer then determines which planetary energy wins in a given matter. Tier 5, Morin's Astrologia Gallica, 1661, is 26 volumes. Only a few English translations exist, extremely legalistic and intellectual. The 72 Names of God, Kabbalistic astrology, from 3 consecutive verses in Exodus 14:19 through 21, 72 letters. When arranged in a specific pattern, they form 72 3-letter names, each corresponding to a 5-degree segment of the zodiac, a deacon of the Kabbalah. Each name is a spiritual key for meditation or talismanic magic. Tier 5 requires deep Kabbalistic study, not found in mainstream astrology books. Picatrix Lunar Mansions, 28 mansions. Pre-Islamic Arabic system dividing the lunar orbit into 28 mansions, nakshatra-like. Each mansion has a planetary ruler, magical image, incense, and ritual purpose. So for example, for love, destruction, travel, the Picatrix 11th century grimoire is the main source. Tier 5, occult. Occult and magical. It requires performing rituals not used in predictive astrology. Planetary joys, Hellenistic. Certain houses where planets rejoice, that is, function optimally and express their nature without obstruction. So, for example, Mercury rejoices in the first house, communication as identity, Venus in the fifth, pleasure and creativity, Mars in the sixth, conflict and service, Jupiter in the 11th, benefits from friends, tier 5, mentioned by Paulus Alexandrinus and Firmicus, ignored by modern astrologers, not taught in any course. The lots of children in marriage, ancient. Drink some water. Alrighty. So the lots of children in marriage. Beyond the lot of fortune and spirit, Hellenistic astrologers use specific lots for life events. Lot of marriage, Venus and ascendant subtracting Saturn for men. Saturn adding the ascendant subtracting Venus for women. Lot of children, Saturn adding Jupiter subtracting Mercury. Formulas vary by author. Each lot had a complex set of rulers for prediction. Tier 5, formulas lost or corrupted, only recovered in the 1990s by Project Hindsight, rarely applied. Alright, moving on to Katarshi, which is electional astrology of the ancients as a living entity. Not simply choosing a good time for an action. In ancient practice, the astrologer would analyze the cosmic weather as a sentient being. The planets and signs had personalities, and the Katarchi was a dialogue with that being. Modern electional astrology stripped away the animistic worldview. This is in Tier 5, as it requires a complete philosophical shift. No how-to manual exists. Alright. Phases. Chronicle rising of a planet or star. A star or planet that rises at sunset opposite the sun is said to be in phases, a royal announcing appearance. In ancient times, such an event signaled a new epoch or the birth of a king. For individuals, a planet in phases at birth gives that planet tremendous power. It's in Tier 5, as it was only discussed in Ptolemy's Tetrabiblos in a few academic papers, not in any modern astrology software. Astrometeorology, weather prediction from planets. So detailed rules from authors like Ptolemy in Book 1, Ai Kandi, and Ibn Ezra for predicting rain, wind, heat, storms, and earthquakes based on planetary phases, lunar mansions, and conjunctions with fixed stars. For example, Mars in a water sign with a southern wind indicates lightning. It's in Tier 5 as it is entirely forgotten. No modern practitioner uses it. It requires historical meteorological diaries. Alright. Level 6 is the Mariana Trench, mythic, lost, or disputed. So obscure that even professional astrologers argue whether these ever existed or are meaningful, often mixed with channeled material or pseudepigrapha. So, 360 Igor degrees, Cyril Fagin's sidereal work. Cyril Fagin, from 1896 through 1970, is the founder of sidereal astrology and claimed that each degree of the sidereal zodiac is haunted by a specific fixed star or spiritual entity in Igor. He published fragmentary tables, but many degrees are missing. Some modern siderealists treat these as living intelligences. It's in Tier 5, but mythic. Fagin's original sources are lost, no reproducible method considered fringe even among sidereal astrologers. Alright. Astrological high leg in Alcocodon, medieval lifespan technique. So the high leg, which is the giver of life, it's a point or planet selected by strict rules: sun, moon, ascendant, part of fortune, or prenatal syzygy. The Alcocodon is the planet that has the most dignity over the high leg. By counting its degrees of separation from malefics, the astrologer calculated the native's lifespan in years, used in medieval medical astrology, and for insurance. Yes, historically. Tier 5, extremely controversial. Many say it never worked. Others say it was deliberately corrupted. It requires perfect birth time. The Triplicity Rulers by Dorothean Time Lords. In Hellenistic and medieval astrology, each triplicity, fire, earth, air, and water, had 3 rulers, one for day births, one for night births, and a participating ruler. The Dorothean system from Carmen Astrologicum assigns these rulers to specific periods of life. For example, Saturn rules the first triplicity period of 15 years, Jupiter the next 12, etc. This is the precursor to zodiacal releasing. Tier 5. The order of triplicity rulers varies by author. Dorotheus versus Ptolemy versus Paulus. No consensus. Alright, the lunation cycles with profections, month by month. Combine 2 techniques. Monthly profections, each month after your birthday moves the perfected house forward by 1 sign. The lunation cycle, new moon to new moon, determines the quality of that month. The interaction is supposedly very precise, but almost no one has documented examples. Tier 5 requires recalculating a profection every month and a lunation chart. Time-consuming and unverified. The parts of the unnamed Greek magical papyri, PGM. So in the Greek magical papyri, also known as PGM, there are formulas for astrological lots whose purpose is deliberately omitted. For example, part of the unnamed, subtracting ascendant, adding moon, subtracting blank. The blank suggests secrecy, only oral tradition revealed the missing planet. Today, those lots are truly lost. Tier 5 cannot be reconstructed, only academic classicists know of them. Decanic planetary spirits, Chaldean order. So each 10 degrees decan of the zodiac is ruled by a specific planetary spirit with a name, sigil, and incense. The Chaldean order, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon, repeats across decans. These spirits appear in Renaissance grimoires like the Arbatel and the Heptameron. Tier 5 requires evocation magic, not astrology in the predictive sense. In Astrological Hypostases, Valen's Anti-Rulership, in Vitya's Valen's Anthology, 2nd century CE, he occasionally suggests that planets do not rule signs as owners, instead they inhabit signs as guests or travelers. The traditional rulership scheme, Mars rules Aries, is only a convention, not a metaphysical truth. This idea, if taken seriously, would overturn all house rulership and dignity systems. Tier 5, only 1 or 2 paragraphs in a 600-page text, never developed. Most scholars ignore it. Practitioners who adopt it cannot practice traditional astrology. Alright. And we have our appendix here, which is how to explore deeper. We use the tier ranking system to progress safely. Use the tier color prerequisites and time to master approximately. So 1 is green, none, can explain to a child 1 day. I should be using the colors, actually. 2 is yellow, know your own chart basics 1 week. 3 is orange, comfortable with houses, aspects, transit 3 months. And 4 is red, studied Hellenistic or medieval texts 1 to 2 years. 5 is black for fluent in Greek, Latin, Arabic, or advanced occult training variable, possibly a lifetime. My recommendation is do not jump from level 2 to level 5. You will become confused or mislead yourself. Each deeper level builds on the one above it. Alright? We also have an advanced astrology philosophy iceberg with our tier ranking chart system with application excerpts. And this document presents an iceberg of astrological philosophy, the underlying metaphysical assumptions about what astrology is and how it works, rather than techniques. Each level represents a deeper, less commonly articulated philosophical stance. A tier ranking system, 1 through 6, indicates the complexity, historical obscurity, and intellectual challenge of each position. Application excerpts show how a working astrologer might apply that philosophy in a real reading or ritual. Alright, so we see our tier ranking system overview. We have our tier color, our name, prerequisites, philosophical question. So, first tier is green for surface, none. Does astrology work? Tier 2 is yellow for shallow basic chart reading. Is it symbolic or causal? 3 for orange, deep history of Western astrology. Are we fated or free? 4 for red, very deep Hellenistic and Renaissance texts. Do planets have souls? 5 for black, abyss, Neoplatonism, Hermeticism. Can astrology transform reality? And 6, we'll say gray, skull, Mariana Trench, postmodern, and occult philosophy. Is the cosmos self-observing? Alrighty. So, level 1 is our surface, astrology as personality inscription, and we're starting with tier 1. So our core philosophy, astrology is a symbolic language for describing human character. The planets do not cause anything, they are simply mirrors or metaphors. As above, so below means correlation, not causation. Our key assumption is free will is intact. The chart is a psychological profile, like a Myers-Briggs test written in the sky. We have our application excerpt. Your sun in Leo suggests you naturally seek recognition. But if you were raised in a culture that discourages self-promotion, you might suppress that. The astrology here describes a tendency, not a destiny. You can choose to embody it or not, and that's a modern counseling astrologer excerpt. In our philosophical tension, if astrology is only metaphor, why do trends correlate so precisely with external events? So level 2 is shallow, astrology as synchronicity, Jungian. Alright? Core philosophy, astrology works through a causal connecting principle. Meaningful coincidences that have no physical cause but carry psychological meaning. The sky and the psyche are in tune in ways that science cannot explain. This is Carl Jung's synchronicity. The astrologer's subjective interpretation matters as much as the chart. There is no deterministic prediction, only archetypal resonance. So when Uranus squared your natal sun, you felt a sudden urge to quit your job. No planet pushed you, rather your inner need for freedom synchronized with the external symbol of rebellion. The event and the aspect are one meaningful coincidence. And that's a Jungian-oriented astrologer excerpt. So how do you distinguish genuine synchronicity from confirmation bias or cold reading? Level 3 is deep, astrology as causal clockwork and traditional determinism. So celestial bodies directly influence sublunary events through rays, qualities, and motions. This is the Aristotelian Ptolemaic model. Planets emit actual physical influences, heat, moisture, magnetism that affect matter, weather, and human temperament. Free will is limited to how one responds within fated circumstances. Prediction is not only possible but mathematically precise. A properly cast chart reveals objective future events. We see our application excerpt. By primary directions, the ascendant will perfect the square to Mars in your 8th house at age 47. I cannot say you will die, but I can say that year brings a life-threatening crisis involving surgery, violence, or a sudden inheritance after someone else's death. Prepare accordingly. A traditional astrologer, for example, William Lilly style. If planets cause events, why do twins with nearly identical charts have different lives? The problem of latitude or local conditions. Alright, level 4 is very deep. Astrology as insult cosmos, anima mundi. The universe is a living being with a soul. Plato's Timaeus. Planets are not dead rocks, but intelligences, gods, archons, or angelic beings. Astrology is the art of conversing with these beings. Influences are not mechanical, but intentional. The astrologer negotiates with planetary spirits. You can petition, placate, or align with planetary powers through electional astrology, talismans, and hymns. This is the worldview of the Picatrix and Renaissance magic. We need a Venus talisman for your marriage. I've calculated an election when Venus is in her own house, dignified, and the moon applies to her by trine. At that exact moment, we will engrave a copper image of Venus holding a dove and recite the Orphic hymn. This will attract her actual spiritual presence into your relationship. States a planetary magician, astrological theurgist excerpt. Are these spirits independent beings or projections of the astrologer's psyche? The line between psychology and ontology blurs. Right, level 5. Abyss, astrology as theurgic ascent, Neoplatonic. So, astrology is not for prediction or personality. It is a ladder for the soul's return to the divine. The planets are stations of descending and ascending consciousness. By understanding the planetary orders, Chaldean or Pythagorean, the astrologer participates in the cosmic liturgy, purifying the soul and ascending through the spheres to the one, Plotinus Lambelicus. Time is not linear but hierarchical. The true chart is a soul's position in the chain of being. Mundane prediction is a lower, nearly irrelevant use of the art. So we do not ask what will happen to me, we ask which planetary sphere is my soul currently bound to, and how do I invoke its opposite to free myself? Your Saturn return is not a crisis, it is an invitation to leave the material world behind. Perform the Saturnine rite of the Corpus Hermeticum during the planetary hour of Saturn, and the god will show you the chains you have chosen. A Neoplatonic Theurgus. This approach abandons all mundane usefulness. If astrology is only for spiritual ascent, why consult a chart about money or health? Alrighty. Level 6, Mariana Trench, Astrology as Ontological Recursion, Self-Aware Cosmos. So the cosmos is not only alive, but self-observing through conscious beings like astrologers. The act of casting a chart changes the cosmos because the observer is inside the observed system. This is a radical interpretation of the participatory universe. Wheeler's participatory anthropic principle applied to astrology. There is no fixed future, only recursive feedback loops between sky, symbol, and interpreter. So the astrologer's consciousness is as planetary as Mars or Venus. A chart reading is a co-creative event. The most advanced technique is to hold two contradictory philosophical models simultaneously, deterministic and synchronic, without resolving them. You asked me to rectify your birth time, but here is the paradox. Your uncertainty about your birth time is itself a planetary signature. If I give you a time, I collapse, a wave function. Instead, let us treat your unknown birth time as a void, a place where you are writing your own nativity in real time. Cast a horary chart for this question. The moment you asked me, the sky answered. That answer is your birth time, just relocated to the present. A postmodern recursive astrologer, rare, often academic. Does this dissolve astrology into pure solipsism? If everything is recursive, no prediction can be falsified. The art becomes poetry. Alright. So our tier ranking chart with our philosophical positions compared. So psychological, metaphor, full symbols, is prediction possible? Only description, and primary use is self-help. Planets are full symbols, free will, metaphor, and then we see our tier philosophy name. So again, Jungian synchronicity, is it free will? Mostly. Planets are archetypal, triggers, and prediction is probabilistic. Primary use is meaning-making. Alright. Causal determinism, limited free will. Planets are physical agents. Is prediction possible? Yes, with high precision, and the primary use is event forecasting. Planetary intelligences, negotiated free will. Planets are living gods. Prediction is conditional with magic, and primary use is talismanic and ritual. Theurgic, ascent, illusory free will. Spiritual stations are the planets. Predictions possible only for liberation, and the primary use is soul purification. And we see with recursive, co-creation is co-created. Observers are the planets. Paradoxical, self-undoing, and it's mainly used for philosophical inquiry. Alright, so how to use this chart system. Identify your default philosophy. Most beginners start at tier 1 or tier 2 without realizing it. Understand the cost of depth. Moving to tier 3 requires accepting less free will. Moving to tier 4 requires belief in spirits. Tier 5 abandons practical prediction. Tier 6 may make you unemployable as a professional astrologer. Apply the excerpts as case studies. When you read an astrological claim, for example, Mars square Saturn means delays, we should ask, which tier's philosophy would produce that statement? The same technique can be justified by multiple tiers. So for example, a transit interpretation of Uranus opposite your sun brings sudden change. Is tier 1 psychological symbol, or tier 3 causal ray, or tier 2 synchronicity? The excerpt reveals which philosophy is actually at work. Alright. So our final note is no single tier is correct. This iceberg is not a hierarchy of truth. It is a map of assumptions. Ancient astrologers move fluidly between tiers 3 and 3 and 3. What the fuck? 3 and 4. Renaissance magicians mix tiers 4 and 5. Modern psychological astrologers stay at tiers 1 through 2. The deepest tier, 6, is a thought experiment from 21st century philosophy of physics, and you may choose your tier, or as the recursive philosopher suggests, your tier may choose you. Alright. In my next video, I would like to go over advanced astrology research, compiled field reports and case studies, a longitudinal observational portfolio from 2018 through 2026, and our researcher is Independent Astrological Investigator Anonymous, and the methodology is retrospective and prospective chart analysis with daily journal logging. I hope to see you there with peace and love. Piscean out.